AI can write your CV in seconds, but it might also be the reason you're not getting the job. Because while technology is making it easier than ever to apply, it's also making it harder than ever to stand out. So today, I'm joined by Becky who helps people cut through the noise and actually get noticed for the right reasons. We're going to be talking about how AI is changing CV writing, how employers are spotting AI-generated applications, and why human creativity is becoming more valuable than ever. Welcome back to the Riverport Business Podcast, the show where we sit down with the people shaping business, creativity, and innovation across St Ives and beyond. What do you see are the biggest mistakes that people make in their CV today?
I think AI is the biggest problem for today. I think prior to AI, the biggest issue people had was not including achievements and not tailoring their CVs towards specific roles. So as I say, AI has become so big now, that's the major problem. The main thing that people need to do and to remember is that people are looking for how they brought value to roles, therefore how they can then bring that value to another company. But as I say, so AI is a big problem for today. People are running their information through the AI systems, and people are noticing. So I think that's probably the major issue for the moment.
So you've actually brought up something that I really wanted to have a chat about.
Yeah.
Which is automated generation of CVs by whatever mechanism, primarily ChatGPT and things like that, but also how employers are doing the same thing to generate their job specs and all that sort of thing. So
it's all automated, isn't it?
What do you think, for you, what jumps out at you from a CV that tells you that it's been AI generated rather than crafted by hand?
Well, I think we're all getting to know these nuances in the sentences, aren't we? We can sort of tell, but I feel like it's flat. I don't know about you. I know that other people are noticing it too. Sentences are flat. We're starting to learn. There's no real flair. There's nothing that really jumps out. There's nothing to say, look, I am the very best applicant you have. It's I'm this, I've done that, and it's just very generic. And I think that's a problem because, of course, we want the CVs to jump out as being head and shoulders above everybody else.
Do you think employers are starting to get frustrated with that, seeing that style all the time?
I have heard that they are, yes. Yeah.
I can imagine. And at the same time, it's if all the CVs that come in look the same because people are applying for the same job.
That's what you don't want, isn't it?
Exactly.
I mean, why do you want your CV to be just like Joe Bloggs down the road? That's the whole point of a CV writer, is to make sure that doesn't happen.
So you touched on something there which was about the telltale signs of an AI-generated CV. What do you think some of those things are, apart from just the blandness?
Well, for me personally, it's the Oxford comma before the last and. We've talked before how that really niggles me hugely. Then I can tell instantly then, and I think that employers can too.
Yeah.
Not only that, double quotes when it should be inverted commas. It's Americanized, and that's what AI is doing. So I'm not a huge fan of AI. I don't use it, but I do understand that there's some systems that can actually eradicate that.
When a company is advertising for a position and they get all these CVs in, they start to recognise CVs that have been generated by AI.
Completely.
Do you think they are actively filtering those out?
Yes, they are. Yes, one might think that they're just going to get used to it and just hope that perhaps somebody might include something that's a little bit personal. I don't know if it's going to filter into all of our consciousnesses, and that's just the way we do things. But I think personally, we really need to make sure that we personalise them fully. 100%. Potentially use AI if you want to get certain information on the CV, but by all means, edit it, make it personal, make it We all use AI, don't we, for as a tool. Nothing wrong with that. But make sure you personalize it. Make sure it shouts about your value, your skills, your achievements, what makes you different. That's what a CV is supposed to do, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Especially that top profile is the most important part. You really want to make yourself seen.
In sort of social media terms, that's the hook.
Yeah, the hook. Precisely.
Because I don't think employers have the time to read 5 or 6 pages of previous experience.
7 seconds is what people say. I always tell people under 10 seconds to look at a CV, to scan a CV. So that very first sentence is what it's all about. And I'm continually saying I do try to make sure that very first sentence essentially renders everything else almost irrelevant. If you can get that top sentence, 2 or 3 lines, shouting about what you've been doing in the past, therefore what you can bring to a future employer, then you're done. You've got them. And it's the hook. Like you say, it's like an advert, isn't it? It is an advert. You're advertising people.
And I know you've talked about this previously, but there are some bits of software around that employers use for scanning.
Called ATS, CV scanning software. Yeah. Most of my customers are aware of it.
Broadly, what does that do?
What it does, so employers or recruiters will set one up for specific jobs, so they'll tailor it towards specific jobs. What it does is it looks for certain keywords and it looks for the prolific nature of those keywords. And if that person, I don't know if you've certain people, if you're using LinkedIn these days, they're using it as well. They'll analyze whether you're a match or not, or how much you're a match. And the beauty of the knowledge of what ATS does is it helps me as a CV writer. And this might sound not ideal, but you can literally splatter the CV with the right keywords in the right places. You've got to make it readable for the human eye too, of course, and that's what I do. That's what I ensure that I do. I make sure it's perfectly readable for the human, it's attractive for the human, but also it's just going to get you through those systems by populating it with the right keywords. And what some people don't know, I attended a little course on this, is that you get more points for certain keywords, for those keywords that they're particularly looking for. You get more points for those being under, let's say, a longer time period, which is quite interesting. And also you'll get more points if it's on page 1, if that keyword's on page 1. So it's a good idea. This is why many people think that I just want a one-page CV. Actually, it's like the internet. Content is king. The CV is the same. So no, you want 2 pages. If you've got more than 5-10 years experience, you want a 2-page CV, and this is why you want to populate it with keywords.
So we talked about how candidates are using AI, either or not so well. How do you see employers actually using AI to generate the adverts for their jobs?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Everything that we see online lately is AI, isn't it? Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it myself.
So do you think the job ads are becoming just more generic?
Oh, I just think probably people are just using them as a tool, like with everything else, with articles, etc. More generic, I don't know. I haven't really looked enough at those, but I think that's certainly a potential for that.
Yeah,
certainly. And it also then encourages the candidate to use AI, doesn't it? If everybody knows everybody else is using it, well, everyone else is doing it, so I'm going to do it.
If the employers are using AI to generate the job specs, and the candidates are using AI to respond to those, it's like a bit of an AI arms race.
Absolutely, everybody else is doing it, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah,
it's not ideal, and I think at the moment us as writers in general, really, and CV writers certainly, it's a sort of where is it all going to end? We don't know.
It's an evolving technology that people are adopting all over the place.
Such a rate.
But if there's, do you think when people are writing their CV that there's sort of like, can it be too polished? What's the difference between polished and authentic?
I mean, you have a very good point. Sometimes I look at my own CVs when I come back to them. When I always hold a changes conversation with people after I deliver their CV, and I think that's only fair to be really transparent and helpful about anything that they don't quite like. And I'm my own worst critic, but I go back and I'll look at that CV and I'll think, what might they not like about this? And also I might see something occasionally. But one of the things that I've noticed quite a lot is that potentially it's too polished. But I always will make sure that it's them, that it is the person, but at the highest of their game. So at the top of their game. So it brings out all of the best stuff of them. So it is them. We really do want to make sure that it's personalised, it's unique. And that's what I do. And something that you and I haven't actually spoken about really, but I think you've heard me mention, is that this is what the consultation is all about. So I find out all about them. So I make sure that especially that top profile is completely them, but at the top of their game. So we really do need to make it personalised, 100%. And people can do that for themselves. They don't need a CV writer to do that. You want it to be you, and you want it to be polished. And of course it could be too polished.
We talked about sort of like the equivalent of the hook in the CV, that first bit.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think there's an element of storytelling that comes into a CV
100%.
that people that would engage the reader?
100%, Dave. And well, this is what I feel that I do best. Is people often say that it's a really coherent story, and they're so happy about that. 100%, yeah.
What do you think people can do to make their CVs sound more human created than AI generated?
Really think about the activities that they have done that have brought the most value. Think about, and look, in an ideal world as a CV writer, you're always thinking about about being able to quantify what you've done in a role. So it's figures. This is what we love as CV writers, always trying to dig for the figures. And indeed, everybody ought to be doing this for themselves. If they don't want to spend money on the CV writer, they really ought to be just thinking about those activities that they did that brought the most value, and then think to themselves, well, can I calculate how much potentially time that saved, or improve customer service? Are there some figures? So bring those figures in. So that's one thing. That is just one thing, but that is the main thing. And really focus on that value, the different ways in which you've added value throughout the CV, and then make that top profile sing about that value. And you've got proof. If you can prove it on your CV, it's essentially prove it. If you can prove it, you don't need to be waxing lyrical about what a wonderful person you are or character traits. You're talking about facts. I did this, did that, resulted in this. And even if it was working with somebody else to do X, Y, and Z, you can find a way to link your activity with that outcome. And that's the fun of the game, really. I really enjoy doing that and helping people do that.
So those are the things that you should put in.
Yes.
What should you absolutely not be putting in your CV?
Essentially, you should not be putting in anything that could be deemed negative, or something negative about the company that you might have been working for. I occasionally don't put in hobbies because you've got too much professional information to go in there. Anything family-wise, we don't want to make it too personal.
All the jobs that I've applied for are technical, and the people I've recruited, I'm interviewing for, that it's all technical, and they will always have the same hobbies at the bottom. It's almost like a boilerplate.
Yes.
Squash football.
What's the point? I mean,
running.
There's not really any. So you shouldn't be including, essentially, as a rule, you shouldn't be including anything that introduces subconscious bias. So with this conversation about hobbies, so you play golf. So you might have, your CV might find its way underneath the eyes of somebody else, a manager who plays golf. Great. But you really oughtn't to be getting the job because you play golf and so does the manager. So that, for me personally, it's a bit of a no-no. On the other hand, hobbies, if one of your hobbies is leading a football team, I don't know, it's something that's team play oriented, and certainly volunteer work is good. So those are the kind of hobbies that you might think about bringing in.
I think some of those questions are actually for the interview. If you get selected for interview, that's something that
ought to be.
It's an area that relaxes people. And I know certainly...
But it can be a talking point.
Absolutely.
This is what many people say to me. Well, they say, I put that in my CV before, and actually it was a talking point in the interview. So there is that. That's what I mean about the argument for and against. Sorry to interrupt you. I tend not to want to put hobbies in there because there's too much other information to put in there. But, there's an argument for it. There's no right or wrong. CV writing is half art, half science. My work as a CV writer can be at odds with some fields, the creative fields in particular. they do tend to want something different. Generally, CVs ought to be straight up and down. No, and this is actually an interesting point with CV scanning software. CV scanning software can struggle to read tables, text boxes, columns, pictures, and PDFs. Okay, so over the years, and a good CV, many CV writers don't include any of those things. We want it straight up and down. We don't want to introduce colours because that's subjective again. Somebody might hate the colour pink or blue, whatever you put in it. So that's not a good idea.
Perfume CVs.
So perfume CV. So that's the thing about perhaps not, you've got to be so careful. This subjective nature or subconscious bias, pink, blue, whatever. Somebody might not like a design. But if somebody's a designer, then the argument is really you ought to be creating a design-led CV. But this is something that I don't do, but they could adapt whatever wording I do onto they're the designer.
Yeah. So in design and art, a lot of the time,
yes,
you're required to bring in a portfolio of work.
Well, this is it.
Or send a portfolio of work.
Very good point. Very good point. Some people say never put a link to anything external on your CV. And I'm sorry, but if you've got, for example, if you've written 10 published articles, you're going to want to link to those published articles or a portfolio. I mean, aren't you? Wouldn't you agree? I mean,
absolutely. I think the other thing is, I don't know the answer to the question. So, do you think that character and confidence comes out in a CV?
Well, I would hope that what I do means that it does. I that's what I aim to do. Character and confidence. My goodness, confidence is so important,
personality,
isn't it?
of course.
Yeah, 100%. You've got to temper it down a bit. I guess it's got to be very professional. And this is where you could fall down. You want to shout. You want to shout about your personality, but you also have to, again, you don't. It is subjective. A CV is subjective. But if a job's not right for you, it's not right for you. Or if your personality is not right for the job, it's not right for the job. So yes, you ought to be putting your. Then you would end up with the right job, wouldn't you? If you shout about your personality, and they don't like it, well, you're in the wrong place.
And I think that's personality for me. I think that's the key word. Can you write a CV using human written CVs that reflect personality?
Oh yeah. Well, as I say, I hope that that's what I do. And with regards to cover letters, that's where you can introduce even more personality. And I really do go all out with those. But I encourage my clients to tailor those and bring in their own personality, because we don't want that to be sort of stiff and impersonal, and when you are getting somebody else to write it for you, there's a bit of a danger in that, certainly with the letter.
What's your advice to somebody who doesn't have the confidence to sell themselves in their CV?
Those are the types of people who generally come to me. Those are the types of people that say, look, I'm just no good at selling myself. And they're in the right place then they come to me. And that's what I say, well, that's what I do. That's what I'm able to do for you.
We've had this conversation before, the idea of generated by AI slug, which appears on a lot of music and media and so on.
This is a very good point.
Having
that's not going
generated
to be
by human, I think
you.
is a very significant tagline.
Yeah, you really do have a point there. AI is not going to be thinking, well, how can I sell this person at maximum level? How can I bring them out? And that's where I think it falls down. I mean, I've written an article on this. AI slop is indeed, the term that everybody's using, isn't it? You can't. Yes, you can program. I know that some people know all about how to program AI to do certain things, and it's evolving so fast. Can it really? Can we really program it to sell somebody while still keeping their personality in there? I just don't know. But thank you. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much. It's been fascinating.
Thank you so much. It was nice to talk to you.
Good.
Thank you.
All good?
Yeah.
Was I gentle enough for you?
You were.
Sorry. A big thank you to Becky for joining me. What really stands out is that in a world where AI can generate almost anything, authenticity and creativity are quickly becoming your biggest advantages. So whether you're applying for your next role or refining your CV, it's worth thinking about how you bring that human element through. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real-world business stories right here on the Riverport Business Podcast.